Okay.
All right, we are at
Uh,
the mark.
all right, guys. So this is episode 6 of our podcast. If you can see below us, we have a new guest. His name is Jed Carr. He's been a friend of mine for many years now. I think about a decade now, right? I mean, I met you back in
We've known
like
each other since fifth grade.
oh, even more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it kind of developed from that to where we were working on things together. Jed's a very talented actor. He's done a lot of work in theater, and he's acted in two of my films so far. He's acted in some other short films too.
Mhm.
Jed, do you want to give like a brief introduction of yourself, or do you think
Sure
I
thing.
pretty much nailed that? Okay, cool.
Hey, what's up? My name's Jed. Yeah, I've known Ethan since I was 11 years old. I just I had like a giant DC encyclopedia like on the playground, and he just thought that was cool, and then we just hit it off like that. And yeah, so funny story. So we were friends for 2 years at Shelton, and then I had to go to another school for personal reasons. And then during my senior year of high school, I I guess I came across your profile on Instagram, and I was like, wait. That's Ethan, the from Shelton. And I immediately had to reach out, and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half, and then you offered me the role in our first film that we did together, Duel, and we've just stayed in touch since. His dad is my foot doctor. I do a lot of running, and I have damaged both of my feet, and he has helped me a lot.
Yeah,
That
that story combined with the Quentin Tarantino posters in the background is a nice touch.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
You're listening to the Film Yappers, the podcast where two film buffs with too many opinions and just enough credentials dive deep into the movies you love, the ones you hate, the ones you pretend to have seen, or the ones you are ashamed to admit that you love. From cult classics to fresh releases, they break down what works, what doesn't, and why it matters, one reel at a time. Dr. William Wells, intellectual historian and culture critic, is joined by his co-host and independent filmmaker Ethan Korpinen. Yappers, take it away.
Well, we're excited to have this episode focus on an amazing movie called Weapons, written and directed by Zach Kreger, who is just over my shoulder there in the background. Ethan, why don't you take us into the big picture?
So,
Yeah.
Weapons is a horror film. Zach Kreger's follow-up to Barbarian, which was his feature-length film debut, which is actually funny enough apparently set in the same universe as Barbarian, like very loosely, but there is some loose connection, like where he's bringing this back to Tarantino. I think he's doing this thing with his films where they're all kind of set in the same world and have very just very small connections through either characters or names of locations and stuff. I've seen
Really?
the film twice myself. I have not been able to pick up any like I haven't really noticed anything like that. But I haven't seen Barbarian in a couple of years, so maybe if I rewatch Barbarian, I might notice something.
Mm.
If you guys know what that connection might be, feel free to drop it in the comments. He was already kind of like, in the public consciousness prior to that. He was in the Whitest Kids You Know, which is I wouldn't say it's a popular show, but like it does have, like a niche audience that watches it. And I think because of the success of this film, it might, get rediscovered or something. The thing that kind of sets off the plot in this film is a bunch of kids that go to the same school go missing one night. The kids in question, they weren't kidnapped. They weren't, no one came in the home and, just snatched them. And in the middle of the night, they just, woke up walked downstairs, walked outside, and just ran into the night. And as the film
Darkness.
states,
And
they were
they
never
all
seen
like to
again.
run with their arms out, like
Yeah, and they all run in the
Yeah.
same way, which is very interesting, which kind of hints early on that there might be some supernatural force at play that lured them out of their homes. And so
Mhm.
from that, you get kind of this fractured narrative of different members of the community, ones that are directly affected by this tragedy, and ones who don't have like a personal connection to it or attachment to it, but are kind of uh, involved in some way later on. The film itself is an ensemble piece, much like films like Pulp Fiction, Magnolia. It's not really focusing on one. There's no centerpiece character. It jumps around a lot. You have the teacher of the students of the kids who go missing. They all happen to be in the same class. It's a class of 18 students. 17 of them go missing. One of the kids in the class did not go missing, Alex. And so that's
The
kind of
kid
like
who
the
is on
first.
your background screen right now.
Yes, yeah. So this is a dream sequence right here. Not a spoiler, it's in the trailer, but that's the kid who does not go missing. I guess the coincidence that they all happen to be in her class kind of turns the community against her because they start to suspect her involvement, which makes perfect sense, right? It is a little weird that it's only her class and they're all gone. We get to see another point of view. Josh Brolin plays like an angry parent who tries to kind of take the case into his own hands because his son went missing. We get to see the point of view of the principal of the school, played by Benedict Wong. And then we also have Austin Abrams. I think I'm getting that name right. He plays this
Yep.
kind of junkie. He's like that
He's a
one.
meth head.
Yeah, he's like
Yep.
that one guy that like dropped out of high school because he wanted to like, ditch the system. And it's like, you know. Anyways, we
Kind of
all
like Badger and Skinny Pete from Breaking Bad.
exactly, yeah.
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 Yeah. He's almost like, yeah, Jesse if he didn't get rich off of making
Oh.
meth. Then you also have this character named Paul, who's like this beat cop who's assigned to the case. He's played by Alden Ehrenreich, who played Han Solo in the Solo movie. He was also in Oppenheimer more recently. He plays kind of this short-tempered cop. So,
Who also has a drinking problem.
who has a drinking
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he is a
Like,
character that has some depth because
Mhm.
he doesn't just give in to his alcohol problem right away.
mhm.
It's something, he sort of gets dragged into it by other
Mhm.
character. And I think that, well, it's just I think he is rightfully triggered by what happens to him, by the guy injuring
Oh, with the,
him
the needle getting
twice.
with,
Twice. Yeah.
yeah,
Which,
Yeah.
is extremely serious.
yeah.
Um,
We'll,
because
we'll we'll get into that later because that's kind of
yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
You do also get Alex's point of view towards the end of the film. So
And
kind of
Alex is the little boy.
yes, Alex is the one kid in the class who did not go missing. So you have kind of six key like perspectives that the film it doesn't shift back and forth between them like Magnolia. It kind of does it very like uh episodically.
Episodically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a great way to describe it.
it almost kind of plays like Kurosawa's Rashomon, where it shows you kind of the same event but different points of view. And I think it does that. It takes that approach for very different reasons because Rashomon's doing it to show you that people are when they're telling their account of events, they're
Hmm.
lying or changing certain details about what happened. Weapons is more about showing you how different people in a community react to grief as a whole.
And each one of
Um,
those
yeah.
perspectives, it shows you. It all leads up to a climax at the very end that ties everything up like so perfectly, and it
Very,
just
very
kind of
well.
I agree. Yeah.
and it like it keeps you on the edge of your seat like the entire time.
It's one of the most kinetic climaxes in a movie I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it really
Where
is.
I
the
was like sitting
last
forward in my seat like during
the
the
last 10
minutes.
minutes is
Yeah.
just complete anarchy.
Hmm.
And everything comes together. It's really exciting.
Yeah, but I think one big takeaway from this film, as well as with Barbarian, is Zach Kreger is really skilled when it comes to just framing the story with a really good hook, I think. I
Mhm.
feel like those are hard to come by. There's a lot of great films that don't necessarily have a good hook, but they do something different with their story. Maybe there's like a curveball thrown halfway through, and I think in the case of this film, it hooks you pretty quickly. Like I was pretty much engaged from the opening scene. I think the way it's shot is pretty eerie and disturbing. You get kind of these angles showing like the Ring doorbell camera like footage of the kids running away, and like Jed mentioned, they're all running kind of their arms are kind of spread like a V, It's really kind of unsettling. Or
Yeah.
funny if you're aware of the show Naruto. It does look
Uh,
eerily similar to.
yeah, I was gonna say it does kind of remind me of Naruto a little bit.
So the meme
Um,
potential there is pretty ripe when
yeah,
it comes to.
yeah,
That's how I described it as their Naruto running. But
yeah.
I did recognize after I saw the movie,
Hmm.
it's more that their arms are out
Hmm.
instead of behind them. You notice that their arms are kind of like they're running to someone's arms.
It's almost like
Yeah.
they're floating a little bit, like the way, yeah, this it
Hmm.
kind of gives
Yeah.
off that like vibe, especially like in the scene where you see them just running out in the deserted street and
Hmm.
it's totally quiet. Zach
Yeah.
Kreger really does know how to start a movie
Yeah.
that just really just grabs your attention.
And he
That's
also knows how to
seriously
market
lacking in movies
too.
today. So I really commend him for that.
And I think he's also like really good at marketing as well because the trailers for this and Barbarian, like they don't tell you anything. They
Oh
just
yeah.
like the trailers for Weapons say this is a movie about 20 kids who go missing and that's it. It may be supernatural, it might not be, but if you want to find out, go see it.
So when this script was written and when he tried to get it made, he went to a bunch of different studios and apparently like every studio, like Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema, which is like a wing of Warner Brothers, ended up picking up the script. But there's a huge bidding war over it. Jordan Peele's production company, Monkey Paw Productions, tried to pick it up and he lost the bidding war on the script to New Line Cinema, and apparently he was so upset about this that he fired his management team. After having seen the film, I kind of get it. Like I'd be pretty mad too if I lost that. That's a good deal.
Yeah, no, totally. And
Yeah.
it does kind of seem like a great story for him to do,
Oh yeah.
but no, I think this clearly was I think this was clearly meant for Zach.
So the director has kind of he's gone on several like podcasts and he's been interviewed like during the press tour of this film and he's listed a bunch of influences. The first one I heard about was Magnolia. That's a film I like quite a bit. It's not a horror film at all. It's a drama, but it is an ensemble. It's got an ensemble cast. It's got the whole like fractured narrative thing, the shifting points of view and all that. There's about 7 to 8 main characters in that film. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. It's been a couple years since I've seen it, but I can definitely see what he meant by that. People who are, I guess, otherwise unrelated to each other, kind of having their lives clash due to some larger than life event that's going on. So I see
The reign of frogs.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
reign
yeah.
of
Yep.
frogs. Mhm.
So I see the connection there. Zach Kreger said that the cinematography from Prisoners, Roger Deakins' cinematography from that film, was a huge influence on this movie. He mentioned Hereditary as well, and then also a movie I've not seen that's been on my list for a while that William has seen, a Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is kind of one of these. It's I don't know much about it, but it's a mystery film where people go missing. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
legendary, famous film set in Australia, where a bunch of kids go missing mysteriously. I will tell you that there is one shot that, and I don't know that he drew direct inspiration from it, though he did say that he's a big fan of John Carpenter movies and so forth. You may remember in The Mouth of Madness, the very famous scene where Sam Neill and Bernie Casey are sitting in a restaurant and they're just talking, and it's just a casual conversation. But behind them, through the window and across the street, is a guy with an axe.
Oh,
And
were you talking about the Benedict Wong scene at the
Benedict
gas
Wong.
station?
And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah.
see this figure running and coming closer and closer. And talk about building tension by
Mm-hmm.
having that he's out of focus. You don't know who is that, what's going on.
To me, the way that the story, the way that he framed everything, and the way that he decided to have the events told in the specific order that he had, it kind of reminded me of Pulp Fiction in a way. I mean, that was the only thing I could think of.
Yeah.
I could maybe it's more reminiscent of Magnolia. I'm not sure because like I haven't seen Magnolia in 5 years, but yeah, it's just each each little story sets up um, sets up what's going to happen next
Yeah.
and perfectly, but at the same time you have no idea where the story is going to go. Like this is the first horror movie I've seen in a really long time where I was not able to predict anything. Like I couldn't even predict the jump scares. Like it's like the jump scares, the best way to describe them for me is like he it's like he kind of like grabs you by the throat and just like when you think it's going to happen, it isn't. And he just like keeps you waiting for that anxious moment to just come at you.
Mhm.
Jed has just one of the best points, and I think the reason why I love this movie so much is just like Mandy, like you said, you do not see where it's headed.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of a surprise, and there's nothing cliche
No.
about what's happening next.
Mm-mm.
And so I was gonna say I haven't seen a movie like that since Mandy. So we're talking about, 8 years basically. The
Yeah.
jump scares are a surprise. The non-jump scares are a surprise. Um, the twists and what the explanations for some of the mysterious things are not what you expect.
Yeah. What I really like about this film is same with Barbarian is it's very clear that Zach Cregger like he really likes to like play on audiences' expectations. And Barbarian is like a film that I admire more than actually like love. But I had a feeling while watching like that film, like this guy's gonna make something really good someday. Because I love how like I just got the sense like he's clearly watched like a ton of movies and it's just like with everything he makes, it's like I know what you're going in like expecting. I'm going to do the opposite of that. Like I'm going to set it up in a way that makes you think
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be the thing you're
Hmm.
expecting, and then just go pull like like a 180.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he did that in Barbarian, and then he does that in this film as well. I grew up in the suburbs. I don't currently live there right now, but Jed lives in the suburban neighborhood, so
I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you, my neighborhood is really boring. Like I don't even know that many people in my neighborhood. In fact, the only horror story that I could think of is whenever a new house is being built, this idiot will come along and just like spray paint graffiti all over the walls that
oh
says
yeah.
like he'll spray paint like greed or but this is funny.
Oh boy.
He spray painted in the middle of the street, save our street, and how he spelled street was Steet.
It's kind of hard to save a street if if you're gonna paint all over it. It's like who's making the
Yeah, no,
progress?
it's yeah,
Yeah.
no, and like
Sounds
still no
like you
one's
need to
caught
save
the
his
guy.
spelling.
But what I think the film did a really good job of is like you were saying earlier, it was capturing was showing like how a community responds to a tragedy like that.
Mhm.
Um, and it's kind of what I think is kind of like scary is that this film came out just a month after the floods in Kerr County, and I have some. I knew some people who were there,
Hmm.
and some of them survived, and unfortunately, some of them didn't. But that's what I thought when I saw those school assembly scenes. That I just thought like, yeah, that kind of reminded me of the way people were responding to the
Yeah,
floods and
like a lot of
people
emotions
for the
and yeah, just
yeah.
a lot of blame too. Like a lot of people,
Mhm,
like in a situation like that, everyone's very quick to blame someone because
mhm.
it's just kind of the human thing to do in a situation like that.
Yeah, of
People just
course.
need
Hmm.
something to direct,
Hmm. Your anger toward.
responsibility to and their anger at. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately for Julia Garner's character, just she just is very unlucky and just happens to be the teacher of all these kids. If you live in the suburbs and anytime you just kind of walk outside of your house at like past like 11 p.m., especially if you're like living in like on a like in a cul-de-sac, right?
Mhm,
It's very quiet, nobody's outside. It's eerily quiet. Like the only sound you can hear is like crickets chirping and there's something very eerie and kind of otherworldly about it. Like you just step outside and
mhm,
you get the feeling that you're not alone, even though you kind of are,
mhm.
even though everyone's inside, and you just kind of don't feel safe because of how quiet everything is. It's like it's too quiet. Something's off. And
There
so
is, that's because there is somebody in the bushes watching you.
Mhm.
That's why.
maybe honestly, yeah,
Or an animal.
yeah,
Could be a coyote or
That's
a
right.
bobcat.
yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
when I was 13 years old, another kid in my neighborhood and I went down to a house. It was four houses down from me, and knocked on the door and asked the guy if we could mow his yard for
Mhm.
20 bucks. And he's like, yeah, sure. We didn't really know him. He hadn't been living there that long. So we mowed his yard, and he's like, man, I really appreciate you boys. And just a typical thing that you would expect in a small town. And then that night he murdered his brother.
The hell?
Oh, I didn't even know this. We've known each other for years. You've never told me this.
What?
Oh, well,
That's
I've got
crazy.
Oh my
and
god.
he shot him on the front lawn, and he staggered over to the neighbor next door, which was the youth minister at my church, and bled to death on his front door. Like they called the ambulance, but it was too late.
Dude.
And
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah.
well, and it's like there was nothing in our interaction with him that seemed off, or but it was a lesson to me.
Yeah. This is kind of going off what Jed said about, living in a suburban neighborhood is can be pretty boring, which is, 100% accurate. I can definitely relate to that. But I
Mhm.
feel like because of that, the rare occasion that something terrible does happen in the suburbs, it's something that the people who live there, they never forget about it. It's something they always kind of
Yeah.
talk about. It becomes kind of like this legendary thing
Yeah.
that people share. It kind of becomes mythologized, right? And
Yeah,
I
it really
think that
sticks with you.
yeah, like the opening narration of this film, uh, made me think of that. It felt like almost like a fairy tale, the way the kid was describing it. And I don't think we ever find out who this narrator is, but
No.
it's a girl's voice.
The girl's voice,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like she's a child but not in the class.
right. And
It's very interesting.
yeah, and even like the way that scene is written, like her vocabulary isn't very developed, and I liked how realistic that was, just the way, someone who's like 7 or 8 would speak. But the way the kid was describing it, it almost felt like a bedtime story. It feels like that one thing. It's like when you live in a small town and there's that one story that maybe only the residents of that town really know about because it just was this thing that happened and everyone kind of remembers where they were when it happened. And usually it's in a really quiet town, which makes it more memorable because it's like the rare occasion that something insane did happen, right? And in the case of weapons, you do get to see what happens, I guess, prior to scenes that you've already seen, which then gives those scenes much more weight because then you start to understand why characters behaved a certain way, or there's that whole thing with Alden Ehrenreich wearing the bandage around his finger, right? And the bar scene where he's
Mm-hmm.
going to talk to Julia Garner, the school teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
their characters have kind of like an established history. They used to date. That's implied, and then we find out why he has that bandage when he arrests the drug dealer character. I think James is his name. Then you also have Josh Brolin. His character is I think his name is Archer or something like that.
Yeah,
He's
his name's
you know
Archer.
yeah, he's just like he's a blue collar worker, suburban dad. Perfect role for him.
Yep.
And you just really buy him in that part. But
Mm-hmm.
there's this whole thing where Julia Garner, when she goes home after this, there's kind of like this conference that's set up with like the town where she goes up on the podium to like speak about her uh, you know, um, desire for answers and how she's just really shaken by this whole thing. She's kind of like just hassled by the different parents because they think it's her. And then when she goes home that night, she and walks outside. There's the word witch is painted in red on her car. Later on in the film, from Josh Brolin's point of view, he waits outside her house because he has a hunch that she's involved in the case, in the disappearance of his kid. And then when we see him leave, we see he has red paint in the trunk of his car, and it
Yeah.
you tie it together like, oh, he's the one who painted that. That's really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
just you find out certain
Yeah,
things
they don't show it. They
later than you
just
typically would. Yeah,
let you
just really
make
good
that
visual
connection.
cues there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I really like about the way he structures his films is he follows a character for say about 15, 20 minutes of runtime, and then he always ends that segment or episode, whatever you want to call it. He always ends it with a cliffhanger,
Mm-hmm.
kind of leaving that character's fate unknown until we see
Right.
what happens to them from another character's point of view. It's just a really cool way to tell a story, I think. What was your favorite, I guess, storyline or character that we followed through the film? Which one did you find the most interesting, and which one, I guess, was the scariest, or provided the most tension in your experience watching the film?
Would have to be everything that had to do with Julia Garner's character.
Okay.
I really liked her, and I thought her performance was incredible.
I feel like my favorites changed during both of my viewings. I think Julie Garner's was my favorite the first time, and the second time I really appreciated Josh Brolin's arc a little
That's
more.
me.
So
Yeah, I'm on Team Archer.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just really liked um, sort of how complex and a little bit tormented he is.
yeah.
You know,
The film seems to hint that he's not a good parent.
yeah,
Yeah, and that it kind of and it also kind of maybe it explains his son's behavior a little bit
his son
Totally.
being a
because
bully.
his son is a bully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's probably a deadbeat dad is what he is. That typically happens when the parents just aren't really present. They kind of are neglectful of the kids, and you
Yeah.
know, kids kind of lash out because of that. It's not really a self-explanatory like title. Like you don't really when you watch the trailer, for example, and you see weapons appear on the screen, it doesn't immediately click like, oh, that's why they called it that.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
to this day, I still don't really understand why the movie is called Weapons. Maybe,
Okay.
maybe like maybe like I guess I could explain it a little more once we get into spoiler territory, but I'm not entirely sure if I fully understand why. But I mean, it does sort of explain it in the movie, but I don't think it does it very well. But it's beside the point. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, William, I think you have a pretty good, we talked about this after we saw the movie. You have a pretty good kind of take.
so I think it's Josh Brolin has the titular line, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That he says it's like they've been weaponized, which I
Mm,
think is the only time that the word weapon is used in some form, if I'm
mhm.
not mistaken.
Mhm.
But um that to me is just and we did sort of predict in a way when we were talking about it that that might be that where the title was coming from, but we don't really think about people as being weapons. Just like Barbarian, what is Zach Kreger calling a barbarian in that movie? What is he is he talking about the guy in the basement or the crazy woman, and to me it's always really interesting when you're trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
um because the title it is mysterious. It's not um transparently clear.
Hmm.
Kind of like Magnolia is a bonkers title
Yeah.
for
Mm-hmm.
Well, just to chime in real quick, Barbarian, you actually do like there's a double meaning with the title there, but the street of like where the house is located is called Barbary Street. So I guess
right,
the resident
right.
of Barbary Street would be called a
Would
barbarian.
be a barbarian.
I think during the dream sequence with Josh Brolin, where we see the hovering gun over the palace with the time, uh,
Mm-hmm.
at the time the kids went missing, 2:17 a.m. I think that's kind of some early foreshadowing that like at this time the kids became weaponized, like they lost control, and um,
Mm-hmm.
when
Yeah.
Josh Brolin is explaining what he thinks is going on, this is after the scene with Benedict Wong, where he kind of runs at them in that same motion. He tries to kill Julia Garner's character.
Mhm.
Yes.
Um, that's kind of when he starts to piece it together that this is connected with the kids, and that's also how he kind of like begins to learn that like Julia Garner has nothing to do with this because this other thing just tried to kill her, so obviously it's not her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of an early hint as to what's going on. There's a scene where when we see Benedict Wong at home with his boyfriend, there's a thing on TV of uh it's like some nature documentary and it's showing like a grasshopper or some insect being controlled. It's explaining the concept of
Right. The
cordyceps,
Yeah.
which if you're familiar with The Last of Us, that's how the zombie, virus in that show spreads.
For a
Yeah.
while, my brother thought that the thing in the thing, the supernatural thing was in the movie. He thought it was going to be like a parasite thing because if you remember, she was talking to the kids in the classroom about the word parasite,
Mhm.
and he like leaned over and he whispered to me. He's like, "Bro, they are like foreshadowing parasite throughout the whole movie."
Yeah.
And he for a while I was like, "Huh, maybe this is going to be about like parasites. Maybe it's
Well, it is
yeah."
about a parasite, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of that's the the deeper plot is about why the enemy is doing what it's doing.
If you've gotten this far into the podcast and you haven't seen the film, stop watching now. Go see
You
it.
want to
We
remain
don't want to
pure.
ruin it for you. So,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
don't listen to us if you haven't seen it because
Leave
it's one
now.
of the
Yeah.
most exciting reveals I've seen in many years in a
Yeah.
movie. So
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, so I want to get through this next topic pretty quickly. I'm going to ask you guys first before I kind of give my answer. Which scene scared you the most?
I think it has to be the it has to be the Alex's mom walking out of the house with the pair of scissors.
Same,
Now,
same. Yep, that's mine too.
yeah, because and here's the thing, like when that scene came up and when she came out of the house, and then as soon as she like when Julia Garner was asleep and she opened the car door, everyone in the theater was immediately like they just gasped, and I
Oh
was
yeah, dude.
like,
Yeah,
gasped, like
totally. Yeah.
my
My
god, like
theater too.
I was literally like on the edge of my seat. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Right. Yeah.
And oh man, that scene is just so brilliantly directed. And the the clown scene where it turns out that Archer's son like is revealed as like the clown, like turns into the clown or whatever. That part was really freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her name, Gladys. I forgot.
And Gladys. Yeah.
Yeah, Aunt Gladys. Yep, the best actor in the whole film, some would argue. I think.
Yeah, Amy Madigan gets
Yeah. And
gets
she's
picked.
not even really I think there's only a shot in the trailer where you see her, and it's like a shot taken from the scene where she's visiting the principal of Benedict Wong's character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time we really get to see her like just, like talking, like we hear her talking,
Mm-hmm.
the other time she's, we see her for the first time in
It's very late in the
Julia,
movie. We
yeah,
don't see her until very.
Julia Garner's portion. We see her kind of like, on the ceiling, like near a ceiling fan, just staring down at her. That's a pretty good jump scare too, I think. That really got me the first time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Oh yeah,
Yeah, when
that
she
was
wakes up.
creepy.
It was one of those like
That was a good one.
nightmare
That was a
within a
really good
nightmare
one.
scenes where she wakes up and she thinks she's like awake, but it's like just another nightmare, and
Mm-hmm.
she wakes up again.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that was great.
really scary stuff.
I got chills just thinking about that.
Yeah, and then Josh Brolin, like you said, Jed, the scene with his son just switching to Gladys like that.
And that's another thing. Like this movie is like, it's darkly funny. Like there's a lot of great humor in this. Like
Yeah,
the meth head James, like he's hilarious.
he is pretty funny. Yeah.
And in fact, in the fight scene with him and Archer at the end, where he
Oh,
gets
amazing.
tossed around like a rag doll, and
Yeah,
like you think he's dead, and then he keeps getting up, and then he gets his ass kicked like over and over again. He's like, "Nope, I'm not dead." Like keeps going, and it's like everyone in my audience like thought that was really
yeah,
funny, and it
it
Yeah.
was. He
was.
just kept getting up. And finally, he picks him up and throws him like a sack of
Yeah.
potatoes.
See,
Yeah, exactly, and he's still
yeah.
not dead.
That scene for me, that little moment there was like simultaneously hilarious, but also kind of scary at the same time. Because you're thinking like, if this guy wasn't like being controlled by something, he totally would have stayed down because he's very
Oh yeah,
skinny,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
drug addict. He probably, doesn't
hmm
have like a lot of fight in him.
yeah, he's
And
a little
this thing that's
twig.
controlling him is so strong that it just causes him
hmm
to basically become this kind of, unstoppable
hmm
force. And Josh Brolin's kind of the immovable object. He's just throwing him across the room. Is like, stay down, man.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where we get into the supernatural aspect of the whole movie. Is that the reason why these kids go missing is because they are being controlled by a witch who is played by Amy Madigan, and the way that she controls them is so she is related to the kid Alex, the kid who is creepily staring at you
Yep.
at the screen, and so she's his aunt, and she controls her parents. And the way she does it is like she takes like some sort of like personal object and like dips her blood in it. Like she cuts herself and like dips the object in her blood, and then like dips it in water or something along with the blood, and then they're under her control. And so she controls this kid's parents. She's trying to prolong her life. Like it's like a rejuvenation type of thing, and she realizes that adults really don't do that much, so she needs kids, and she tells Alex to bring home personal items that his classmates have so that she can use that to control the kids so they can come to the house and they can make her younger and live and allow her to live longer.
Yeah, it's not really clear like what the life force is going to do for her. Is it going to like reverse her aging? Is it going to cure
Yeah.
like whatever disease she
Maybe
might
cure
have?
her cancer that,
I don't know
is
if the film
killing
ever
her.
says she has cancer though. Does it? I
hmm
could be wrong, but I think they kind of left
Well,
it
it's
as a
implied.
mystery.
I think it's
Yeah,
implied that she's got
Yeah.
some illness, and she thought that she could drain the life force of Alex's parents, and it
yeah,
didn't do enough. And she
hmm
said, "Yeah, it hasn't worked yet." And
hmm
so then she decides to kill a whole room of children. I mean, it's like this is a very disturbed, selfish woman.
Great
karma gets
villain.
her in the end. It's pretty
Oh my,
satisfying.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
very satisfying.
Which in my opinion, I think is probably the funniest bit in the movie
Oh yeah,
because because like every shot where the kids are just chasing after her, just nothing but laughter. And it
It's
was just, and like as soon, and like just, it was so funny, like just the way the kids chase after her, and then they catch up to her, and she dies a really horrific death.
I have to say that might be my favorite thing that I've seen in a movie in 2025. Just that whole sequence, that whole chasing,
yeah, the whole sequence
just
is
incredible. I was
when they
like,
come
is it concerning
crashing
that
out
I'm
of those
like just getting so much joy from this scene?
they come
Like, I was
crashing
so
out of those
happy during that
windows, and
moment.
they're like guided missiles.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that's what the fascinating thing, and no obstacle can stop
it'll
them.
just slow them down. Yeah,
They
And
just,
you know what? I think maybe that's where, maybe that's why the movie is called Weapons, because like
yeah.
maybe that's the weapon that the movie is referring to, as a guided missile. Because wow, that's a perfect description. That really is great.
and we saw, it's kind of explained, at least visually, with Benedict Wong's character.
I love mysteries, and I love my favorite part of mysteries is when it's revealed at the end. Like you see what's going on, and I think what I thought was really powerful, and especially like when it comes to the ending, is that those kids are like, they're scarred for life.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's and
Yeah.
I think that ending, the ending really emphasizes that pretty well. Is that, like, yeah, not only are the kids scarred, but the parents are scarred as well. And it's just like, yeah, like you were saying earlier, like this, tragedies, they really do stick with you for a while, and it's just, yeah, it's really heartbreaking.
you're often not the same person. It's kind of for many people like hard to return to your normal self after that. Even the last line of the movie kind of, uh, you know, um, encapsulates that. Like the narrator says, like some of the kids have started speaking again, but not all of them, So it's like
But
some of
not
the
all of
kids,
them.
Oh yeah,
this
that's
is,
right.
I assume months later after they've been rescued, they've started speaking. We don't know how much. It might just be a couple of words. It may not be like fully formed
Yeah,
sentences. It might just be simple like yes or no, kind of. We don't know, right? So
yeah,
that's the last line of the film.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that whole part like immediately made me think of my cousin, who's only 9 years old, and she's one of the survivors of the Kirk County floods. And
Oh my God.
I cannot, like, yeah, I cannot imagine what the next few months are going to be like for her, and just like how in the world she's able to process all of this. Like, it's just, it blows my mind, and it's just
Yeah.
awful to think about.
It reminds me of like, school shootings and stuff too, just because, kids lose their friends and stuff like that and situations
Hmm.
like that. And I mean, when you're a kid and your brain is still developing and everything, like those childhood friendships are pretty crucial to your development. And when you lose them, it can really throw things off balance, when you're that young.
Absolutely.
When you're an adult, it's easier to kind of like drift away from a friend and it always sucks, right? But it's not gonna like
Yeah, there's.
ruin your
Mhm.
life or something like that because you have other friends that you can talk to. But when you're a kid and maybe you have like a tight circle of like 4 or 5 people and you lose one or two, it's pretty
Yeah.
devastating. The ending of the film you can kind of compare to Magnolia a little bit, just because Magnolia doesn't have like a clear-cut happy ending, but there is a
Right.
glimmer of hope in there. I
Hmm.
think that's what the ending of this film is. Like, I wouldn't say it's like it's not a devastating ending, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a happy ending. It's just an ending that has like a glimmer of hope in there that
Right.
things
The
will
idea
get
that
better,
if some of the kids are able to recover, then it implies that all of them can. It may take longer,
Yeah.
but
They'll
there's
never be the
not there's
same.
yeah, well, they'll never be the same, but there's not a rule that's going to keep them like in a catatonic like they basically are under that spell.
Hmm.
So you can imagine, okay, well, maybe it does wear off after a
Mm.
while.
Hmm.
And so that's why I was telling Ethan this before, that that is kind of the hopeful dimension to this. There's a little bit of hope that Archer is going to be able to reconnect with his son, and but I mean, of course, um Justine. Miss Gandy, the teacher,
Hmm.
she gonna she's gonna probably have to move to another town, and
Yeah.
I don't know that she'd be able to teach there anymore, and the principal is dead, and it's just kind of the
Yeah.
whole town is really kind of torn apart.
You know what I think, who I think are actually like the biggest victims of this whole tragedy? Like if you look at just the ending of the film, Alex's parents, I think.
Alex's parents,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's implied that they probably lost custody of Alex because now they're probably institutionalized because of how traumatized they are from, I mean,
yeah.
they were
I know
forced
they
to
stabbed
stab
themselves with
themselves and
forks, and
yeah,
they
I
tried
mean,
to viciously murder their own kid.
how do you yeah, like how do you move past that? Like can you do like that's I think if a question the film kind of asks like can you really move past something like
Well,
that, you
it,
know?
it and
Yeah.
it says the narrator says that they are institutionalized, right? That they're put in a
I don't know if
says
it's
something
that's
about it
yeah, I don't know if it specifies that. It just said that Alex is now living in a different
in a
town.
different with other new
So
parents.
I just filled in the I think I
Yeah.
just kind of filled in the blanks, but maybe they do mention that. I'll just have to see it again. But
Hmm.
um
But
uh
on that note, this was a hilarious movie.
Yeah, it really
A
was.
lot of funny moments for a horror movie.
I think
Yeah.
it kind of needed the comedy in a couple moments
Hmm.
just because I think
Yeah.
otherwise this would have been a is kind of a downer, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
really kind of tired of horror films that just don't have fun anymore. They all kind of
Mhm.
spend too much time looking down at their shoes, kind of sulking and
And some of those films are really good and done really well, but yeah, it's we need a change in scenery.
yeah.
Something new.
And I know there've been a lot of articles about this that we've been kind of wallowing the movies the horror movies of the past 10 years have
Hmm.
just been all about
They're kind of
processing
bummers, you know what I mean?
trauma
Yeah.
I know they're
processing
super
trauma
depressing.
and
Yeah.
that's not it's not what we need in entertainment.
Yeah.
And
Right.
even horror, the best horror has some kind of moral center.
Hmm.
It's dealing with some kind of issue, but it shouldn't be that every protagonist was abused as a child and they're working through it, and
Or that they lost a child or a
they
family
lost a
member. Yeah.
child. That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you guys see Oscar potential with this film? Because
Yes.
Mm.
I I don't think it's going to win any like big awards or get nominated for any big awards, but I do think there's serious potential for a Best Original Screenplay nomination and a
I was just about to
possible.
say the same thing. Yeah.
Honestly, if it's not nominated for Best Original Screenplay, I might kill someone. I'm going to be really mad if that happens. Like, I'm going to be
No. Yeah.
pissed.
Are you going to be
I mean.
weaponized?
Maybe.
Yeah. It could be.
Maybe
No.
we should,
I
hey,
think.
we should weaponize the Oscar voters to vote for this movie. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. They
I
should
do
do.
think the other one that has a lot of potential is a Best Supporting Actress nomination for Amy Madigan. I think that's very, very possible. I think it could happen.
Yeah, no, she completely transformed herself into that.
Yeah.
And if you
And
see what
sound
she looks,
design.
and if you see the movie and then you see what she looks like in real life, you'll be amazed. You're just like, oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, oddly enough, that's why Zach Cregger cast her in this movie. I read this interview that he did that he saw her in Field of Dreams and she had this very kind of like sweet and disarming vibe with her to her personality. And it really makes sense how she's able to go into all these people's houses and just sort of,
Hmm.
take control because they kind of let their guard down when they let her in. Like Benedict Wong, when he lets her in his house, he's he's not really being that stupid because she does make a pretty good reason for inviting herself in. And, it's this old
Yeah,
woman who's very frail and, weak, and she's kind of
yeah.
small, and Benedict Wong being, his character being the nice person that he is, invites her in and
Hmm.
he offers her some water. He's being very, he's being very friendly and neighborly, and she takes advantage of him. It's very plausible to see how she's able to get away with this. There is a rumored prequel spinoff, if you will, about Gladys that's been recently put in development. I'm not sure if this is actually true or not. It's a rumor, like I said, but
I hope it's not true.
I kind of agree because I feel like I kind of like that they didn't give us that much, and I feel like what they gave us was enough to fill in the
Yeah,
blank.
exactly. And
Yeah,
that's another problem with horror movies nowadays is that they'll either get like 3 or 4 spin-offs or like sequels and prequels when
yeah,
they're really not that necessary.
yeah,
Like, like even Ryan Coogler said himself like that he has no intention of making a sequel to Sinners or anything else. Like it's fine just
stands on
standing
its
on
own.
its own.
Yeah,
And I think a lot that's another thing that needs to take effect is not
yeah,
everything needs a spinoff.
yeah. I
Well,
mean,
it's
hey,
just
part of yeah,
this desire to make everything into a new IP that
right.
can turn into a movie and a video game and a TV show and a
Hollywood
toy
has a
and a Happy Meal and
addiction to
a
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. The weapons Happy Meal.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
I have
can't
seen a couple of t-shirts online where it's like weapons, but like with the font of like the Wendy's logo, and Gladys is like in the center instead of the Wendy. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I need to look
Yeah,
that
I
up.
gotta
I
get
I
one
need
of
to look
those.
that
I
up.
was
Yeah,
thinking Cabela's, crossover with the
I agree with what y'all said. I think part of part of what makes horror great is its connection to the unknown. And if we just explain everything, I think it becomes less and less scary. Yeah, so that wraps up this episode of the Film Yappers. We
Hmm.
haven't really decided what we're going to talk about for our next episode. We have a couple of options that we're weighing out. We'll probably drop a poll on the channel, and
Hmm.
we'll decide on what the highest voted film is for episode 7. But
Hmm.
for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I implore you to go see this movie while it's still in theaters. We need to support
Hmm.
original movies like this.
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
very excited to see what Zach Kreger does next. He's doing the
Hmm.
Resident Evil movie next. It's
Yeah.
not connected to the Mila Jovovich movie, so it actually
Um,
might be good.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my I'm gonna get my mom to go see this, and she's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna wait until it comes home." I'm like, no, get out of the house, go to the damn movie theater. Like,
Yeah.
no, you do not want to miss this.
Yeah. Well, at least if she doesn't pirate it, she'll still be, if you pay for it in any capacity, it's still
Yeah.
technically supporting the movie. But,
No, I know,
movie
but
tickets cost
but
more, so I get it.
you got to see it in theaters. You have to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jed, for being our first guest yapper. And
Yeah, sure.
appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. We'd love to have you back on for a future episode. So I'll
Yeah,
keep you
just
in the loop.
yeah, keep me
Yeah.
posted, and yeah, I'll hop right on.
Yeah. I'll try to get you on like episodes for movies that you really like. I've known you long enough to where I really know like your movie taste. And if we're talking about like a Scorsese movie or anything like that in the future, I'll definitely hit you up for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, definitely keep me posted on that.
For sure. All right. Well, stay tuned for the next episode and have a great weekend, guys.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Film Yappers. We appreciate your support, which you can show by subscribing to the channel, clicking the thumbs up like button below, and sharing with your friends, neighbors, and cousins. We will see you on the next episode of the Film Yappers.